all the stuff going on with Amazon. And Pat, this is a family-friendly show, and we tend to, it's tech. And so, but tech companies, you'll hear us talking about things like ESG, sustainability. And so Amazon is clearly one of the world's most disruptive companies, whether that's the cloud business, the device business, home automation, their e-commerce and supply chain that they've developed, technology rich. And it's been a success, a path to success in the company, despite the fact people often forget, lost money for a long time before it made money. In recent quarters has made a lot of money. And we've found that Amazon has kind of ended up in the center of this debate around employee, compensation, treatment. It's got a unionization effort right now that's going on in Alabama. You've got regulators pushing for higher tax rates in the, for Amazon, or for greater taxes, because people, learn that what Amazon is or isn't paying in taxes. And by the way, a lot of people also, don't always understand, just a really quick refreshers, as a C corporation, that means every employee pays taxes. So a lot of companies are S corps and LLCs, and all the money flows through, and only the owner and principal pays. We can't get too deep into that here, Pat, but I feel it's worth it, because when you add 400,000 employees, every single one of those employees contributed taxes that were paid as through the company's business. So so anyways, long story short, I think it's we're in a very interesting moment for tech and innovation right now. We've got kind of two sides of the story. You've got a company who's been very successful, who is proactively back. I think it was 2018, November of 2018, the company went to $15 minimum wage across the entire organization. You've got a company that has spent, I think in 2020, throughout the pandemic, about $18 billion on its marketplace for small businesses, helping to help small businesses grow. You've got a company that I think hired more people than any other company on the planet during the COVID pandemic, that took shipping down to hours so that people could get the stuff they need throughout the pandemic. Spent, I believe, over $100 million in its climate pledge, and also has brought hundreds of companies around the world in, and has pushed the Paris Accord, the 2050 date, 10 years forward. So you got a company that's doing a lot of good things, but you've got a market that seems to never feel like it's doing enough. You've got Bernie Sanders, you've got Elizabeth Warren pushing that there should be more tax, that the wages should be higher. And I just think it's really interesting, kind of and I'll kind of almost throw it to you, because I want to get your comments on this too, is, when you're talking about innovation, a company's number one responsibility is to its shareholders. I know people sometimes get frustrated by this, but that is, when you're a manager, when you go to business school, you learn that. We're entrepreneurs. We know if we aren't solvent in our businesses, we can't do anything for our communities. The more solvent your business comes, the more you have opportunities to choose how you invest in communities, whether that be social programs, ESG, hiring more people, paying, investing in other business opportunities. And so the company itself is kind of investing a lot of its money in innovation. It's invested to go from a couple days to 1 day to 1 hour in its shipping, and it's cost it money. It's invested in data centers around the world to build its cloud business. And yes, it's starting to return profits, but I worry when the government says pay more taxes, pay people more, without necessarily understanding the fundamentals that run the business. Yes, it seems the company is untouchable today. But you know what? BlackBerry was untouchable. Kodak was untouchable. You've got an endless. Blockbuster Video was untouchable. But all of a sudden, you start saying pay more, spend more, make less. And does that start to hamper innovation?
Yeah, so that's great analysis. And I know you've spent a little bit more time in this than I have. But here's the thing. Amazon is a fun company to pick on, because Jeff Bezos is the richest person in the world, and Amazon is doing great. It basically created the whole concept of infrastructure as a service, and they're taking money away from their competitors. And then on the retail side, they're doing the same thing. Amazon does pay a lot of taxes, and one of the things, and I'm glad you brought up the taxes that it pays through their workers. But how about sales taxes?
Yeah.
Right. Everything that's sold by Amazon has sales tax where they have a distribution center, which I think is nearly every state that's out there. And the other thing is, Amazon had losses for years, and when you do carry forward on losses, that will carry forward, I think, up to a decade. I'm not an accountant, thankfully, but I don't know. They're probably making
our accountant
money.
listeners.
No, I know. And the second thing is that the R&D tax credits that Senator Warren voted for a bunch of times incented companies like Amazon to make certain investments certain ways, and they did this. So they're a target. I'm the last person that's going to say we need more taxes. I mean, I know, gosh, even Jeff Bezos said, yeah, tax corporations more. I'm not even there, right? I'd like to see better use of that money, and I'd like to see, like we see in the business world, outcome based things. Because right now we're taxing a lot of things, and I question what we're actually getting back for it.
Yeah, you make so many great points, and I think I was giving one example. You gave another about where taxes generate. Businesses generate taxes through a lot of different things. There's property taxes of every one of these facilities that the company. I mean, so when you're talking about taxes, we tend to cherry pick our facts, and that's something
exactly
I recommend people look more deeply into. I think it's hard to talk about this without sort of looking at different issues that I probably conflated a little bit, but these are all issues that need to be considered. You've got how workers are paid. You've got how innovation is fostered. You've got how ESG and community efforts are handled. And then ultimately, you put all these things together, but they are all interrelated. And I think that's the hard thing. Like if you just go to a company and you start stripping out the bottom line, what happens is they hire less and they invest less, because in the end, these companies have that, it goes back to what I said, that fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders. People will not continue to invest $3,000 a share in an Amazon that's making less money. They want the company to show profit, to show innovation, to show investment, and show market leadership. And so we've got to understand all these things impact each other. I got an op-ed that'll come out about this in depth. I'll share it with everybody later. Could talk about this for a long time. I'm glad we had the chance to just kind of break the ice here, though. And I hope, we can have some productive and human conversations about it throughout, our communities.